What's the worst pain you've experienced, and what caused it? It was Friday, October 14th, 2016. I woke up in a cold sweat and in terrible pain. My back to my belly button felt like I was being filleted from the inside with a knife made of pure lava. I went to the ER and the doctor on staff said, "Yep, you've got a kidney stone. Good news is that it's halfway down your ureter. Just drink plenty of water and pass it over the next few days." I was prescribed oxycodone and sent on my way. I was never someone that likes taking painkillers. They make me feel off. I was allowed to take one every 6 hours. As I drank over a gallon of water and took the medication, I felt worse and worse throughout the day. The medication did absolutely nothing. Not a thing for the pain. Late Friday night I couldn't take it anymore. I said to my wife, "Sweetie, I need you to take me to the hospital, please." She got our 6-month-old in his car seat. I crawled to the back seat of her car in such immense pain that I couldn't talk. Pure sweat running down my face. We arrive at the hospital. What I found out is that the evil motherfucker doctor I saw in the ER before neglected to tell me at the time was that the stone was a 7.5mm boulder. There was absolutely no way that it would fit down the ureter and pass naturally. It was jammed tight in my ureter and didn't budge at all. The new doctor said, "Wait, you were sent home with that? You need surgery immediately." So here I'm dosed with a painkiller cocktail of Dilaudid and fentanyl via my fourth, and it is barely making a dent. The nurse came in to see me and said, "Oh, remember to keep breathing, okay? Your respiratory rate is extremely low and your blood O2 level is dipping." I said, "Oh, okay. Remember to keep breathing, got it." In the meantime my wife is saying, "What the frick does that mean?" I was tripping balls at the time and didn't think anything of it. Fast forward 6 hours and I'm taken in for surgery. I was knocked out and then had the procedure. They stuck a laser up my pinhole and blasted the stone. However, they had to also send a steel claw up there to extract the pieces, since they separated into shards that embedded into my ureter. I wake up to the doctor shaking a specimen vial with what sounded like broken glass. He showed me the 4mm stone and the rest of the debris. He said, "That was the worst one I've ever taken. How you were still conscious with a 7.5mm in your ureter is a mystery to me." The doctor said, "You'll have a stent in your ureter for a couple weeks while it heals. You may have an unpleasant sensation when you urinate." That was a massive understatement. If you've ever used a high pressure hose at a car wash, you'll notice that after you let go of the trigger the hose shakes for a moment because of the abrupt pressure change. Imagine that same thing occurring between your bladder and kidney. Pissing was excruciating. The doctor had to repeatedly cancel and reschedule to have the stent removed because of his schedule. Fast forward 8 weeks later, the day to have this miserable stent removed has finally come. I lay down, spread eagle in the procedure room. The nurse injects a numbing agent up my piss hole. She warns, "It'll only make it numb from peen to bladder." I didn't think much of it at the time. I was under the impression that the whole process would be painless. The doctor comes in and says, "Let's get this show on the road. You might feel some slight pressure and discomfort." He jams a thick black tube up my peen while I look on in fascinated horror. I feel it in my bladder. He says, "Okay, now for the bad part. I have to pull the stent out. I'll do it on the count of the 3. Try to relax. 1. RIP. That idiot did it on 2. I now know what a lawnmower being started feels like. Screw kidney stones. I'm sorry, but you had me laughing pretty damn hard." Same. I'm a very empathetic guy by nature, but something about this writing style just broke me. Believe me, I do not mean to minimize the fricked situation you went through, but holy crap did this make me laugh. Radiator blowing a cap and covering me with 220-degree water, 3rd degree burns on 30% of my body. Worst instant pain ever experienced. I'm not a professional mechanic, but when I help my friends out, it's the first rule I teach them of never ever. Apart from taking anything metal of their bodies, blocks and jack stands, always let it cool down before working on a car. My brother also learned the hard way. Luckily he put his shirt on top of the cap. As it shot out, it soaked the majority of coolant that would have hit his face, only got it on his chest and stomach. Let the engine cool down. Before you even touch anything under pressure. I've been at this for years. Was a freak thing. I build custom advs for deep mud and water. We move radiators to top of the rack. Breaking in a new motor and was doing heat cycles and thermostat stuck and built up a lot of pressure and the cap just couldn't hold it. Did this a 1000 times and just happened to go south this time. Freak accident. But yes, you are correct about what you have said and the advice you have given. A stomach ulcer burst and blood escaped into my stomach and bowels. After few hours of surgery, the cramps in my stomach made me yell out loud. It was uncontrollable for 2 days, like glass slicing me up internally. My stepson died of this. Happened in the middle of the night and his mother didn't take him to the ER. He went septic and died next day. God, so sorry. I was lucky my Apple Watch alerted my heart rate going crazy. Took to hospital and sat for hours while they did tests, then suddenly started vomiting blood like John Hurt an alien. I was sure I was dying. 20 minutes later I'm being gassed before being operated on, and by that stage I was so weak and afraid I just wanted to let go. Mental pain stays with me today. Awful news about your stepson. I was lucky. Was in right place at right time or I'd be gone too, I'm sure of it. Broken pelvis from a motorcycle accident. I started feeling some pain while reading the comments, but I definitely somatized while reading this one. This post is painful. It wasn't nice to say the least. I blacked out when the accident happened and woke up in the hospital. Doped up, then went straight to theater. It was the recovery that hurt. Took me 3 months to walk comfortably again. I had constant heavy painkillers for those 3 months. It hurt to just sitting still. Cyst rubbing on spinal cord. Instantly adjusted my posture after reading this. Same. This one got me frick back pain. Worst of the worst. Brown recluse bite on my shin. 0/10 would not recommend. Holy frick. That's one of my biggest fears and they don't even exist here. Are you okay? All back to normal or some lasting effects? Is the bite itself painful or was it more the aftermath? I didn't feel the bite at all and honestly had no idea what it was because it just itched really badly all day long. Went to sleep at night and woke up damn near screaming because the pain was so bad. Ended up in the ER and was told it was a recluse. It ended up leaving a decent sized scar on me, but other than that, no lasting effects. Being stabbed in the gut 3 times. Holy crap dude, what happened? If you wanna share. Wasted crazy guy picked a fight with my friend who suffered from leukemia and stunted his growth and is only 4,11 and this dude was like 6,2, so I was like hell no, he ain't bullying my friend. So I shoved him to get him away from my friend and that's when he pulled out the knife and stab. I had a gallstone blocking the bile duct. I've given birth without pain relief 3 times and I can honestly say the gallstone was the worst pain I have ever been in. I had a gallstone I didn't know I had break up and release all the trapped bile. I vomited a stomach full of bile 7-8 times over an hour. It was horrible and so unexpected. Oh my gosh. That happened to my mother last year. We finally convinced her to go to the hospital. Luckily, turns out the episode also triggered diabetes. Had minor surgery where they messed up and a blood clot got behind the incision and it got infected. For a week I had to get help getting out of bed to just go to the bathroom. When the blood clot ruptured the incision, it was instant relief. The way you described the relief sounds similar to when I had my eardrum rupture from an infection. This happened to me too when I was a kid. I heard wavy thunder-like sounds beating to my pulse, had intense pain, then, whoosh, ecstasy. I had surgery to remove a bit of my brain where my seizures started. I woke up after 6-7 hours and I was so out of it. I just remembered a nurse asking me what she was holding in her hand to see if I was with it or not. Nurse holding a pen. What is this? Me. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Nurse. It this a pen or a coin? Me. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. They put me out again and I woke up a few hours later just repeating again how much it hurt. It was a 10 on the scale and I just wasn't with it. Worst night ever for both me and my wife who had to witness it all. Damn. How are you now? It doesn't really hurt like that, but it's been 3 years, and every couple months I'll have some muscle start twitching near that spot, and I can't raise both eyebrows the same height anymore. The one on that side doesn't go up as much, but I have fewer seizures, so some success there. For migraine sufferers, if you have not found your migraine trigger yet, please do a bit of investigating just in case you can work it out. It can help with prevention. Some common culprits include food, particularly processed foods, vision problems, birth control, hormones, stress, lack of sleep. I had vision loss migraines for a few months. I'm a pilot, so I was afraid of losing my medical over it. It never happened while flying, but would happen in the same places every so often. I narrowed it down after logging my sleep schedule, diet, and amount of water drank each day. It was tap water in Detroit that was causing them. No longer Detroit based equals no more migraines. That is super messed up, and I'm going to take a mental note of that. My husband dying in my arms. It's not just emotional pain, you experience physical pain too. Wow. Rest in peace to him. Thank you. I hope he is at peace now. Edit. Spelling. A super bad UT. Couldn't pee without screaming and had to pee every 15 minutes. Pee was bright red from all the blood. I remember playing on a trampoline as a kid and landing on my crotch on the metal outside part. I had a little tear in my urethra, and good god, the pain when urinating was like nothing I've ever experienced. Hurt so much worse than the injury itself. I did that same thing learning to ride my brother's bike. I hit a huge tree and landed on the bar. I would say that was the worst until I had kidney stones around the age of 29. I'd rather have invasive surgery, break bones, childbirth, etc. I have never experienced pain like kidney stones. I was in the ER and they sent me home with a pulled back, muscle and muscle relaxants because I had zero history of kidney problems. I spent the entire next day in excruciating pain, literal suicidal thoughts, because it was so bad. My mom came over and found me in the floor with my face laying in the couch screaming. Took me back to the ER. I had passed it with no medication. They put me on a morphine drip, but the doctor said I was through the worst of it. He also said most people will pass out from the pain. I sure wish I would have passed out. I hope I never experience pain like that again. It taught me to drink water all the time, the only positive. I got bit on my thumb by a bat when it was in my apartment. I was trying to catch it in a garbage sack to get it outside when it got me through the bag. The next morning in the ER, I needed to get the rabies vaccine. Turns out you want the injection of the vaccine to be around the point of potential infection, so I had to get 14 shots in my thumb. There was still some of the formula left in the vial, so they had to also give me a shot in each shoulder, each thigh and my butt. The thumb pain was probably the worst I've ever felt. Switch bat with cat and this was my experience. Those shots in the thumb were brutal, and I've broken a hip. Exact same feral cat bit me. Those shots in the thumb were unpleasant lol. I had a deer antler on the ground with the points facing downward and the curve facing upwards, and landed on my ass on top of it in the middle of the night at my grandparents', tailbone making contact with the antler. I was like 12 years old, and it was very hard to stay quiet, and I rolled around holding on to my ass in great pain. What are you doing, step deer? Woke up during surgery. Luckily they weren't far in, so they were able to put me back under, and no real damage was done from me trying to make my escape from the table. I woke up when they were moving me, so I was not strapped down. I remember being suddenly awake and screaming, and it felt like my back was on fire. There were 3 people laying across me holding me down. When I woke up in recovery, absolutely nothing they gave me helped with the pain, and I spent like the next day just throbbing in pain and sobbing. It was so bad. I did have several 10-inch needles stuck in my spine pumping contrast into the discs when it happened, so that is most likely why it hurt so friggin' bad, but why they decided to keep going. Like I said, no real damage, just a lot of pain, because those needles were not meant to be in a moving person. I woke up during my surgery, and for some reason I thought it'd be funny to start screaming, like I was in pain. So I screamed at the top of my lungs and the doctor didn't even flinch. Just said, "Martha, put him down," and I went out like a light. IDKY, but Martha put him down made me laugh so hard. My cousin had a very hard plastic sword. He was swinging it around like a ninja and swung it toward me extremely quickly. He didn't realize there was a plastic sheath on it, which flew off and absolutely obliterated my left nut. I fell to my knees, unable to move or breathe for about 20-30 seconds. When I finally could move, I crawled as fast as I could to the bathroom to throw up in the toilet. My god, that hurt. My condolences for your left nut. My left nut just went viral. My dog ripped my testicle stitches open. I have swollen blood vessels in my scrotum, both sides at the moment, and had surgery to suppress the pain. They go in, cut the nerve, then stitch me up. I'm recovering 3 hours later in bed when my pup jumps on to cuddle. For context, she's rather small and weighs just about 7 pounds. She curls up in a ball on my crotch with her head resting on my tummy. We fall asleep for a while until my sister comes home. My pup jumps off my body while using my groin as a jump pad. I screech an inhuman noise, cry for an hour, and pass out from the pain meds. That was August 4th, and I had my second surgery December 29th. Second surgery went by much smoother and I have the last surgeries planned for next year. I was constipated and had to poop really bad. It finally came out after 2 days, and in the process, I ripped my butthole. It would hurt for me to sit down, walk, and take a crap. It was so painful. When I had to poop I was so afraid too. Imagine someone stabbing you in the butt with a knife. It lasted almost 3 months. Broken hip, walked around on crutches, tried some stairs, slipped and stepped hard on the wrong foot. Actually I don't really remember the pain, but experienced a complete brain reboot. No vision, no hearing, didn't even scream. When I came back the pain was just bearable, but still breathtaking. 2/10 would not break hip again. My grandmother walked around with a broken hip for 6 months after she suffered a fall, but she got lucky it hadn't done any more damage than what I remember. My back surgeries. They had to do them while I was awake, so they didn't burn the wrong nerves. It was extremely painful. It happened because I was in a hit and run accident. I managed to get a picture of the guy's car as he took off, license plate and all. No one took me seriously when I told them how much pain I was in. My car insurance company refused to pay for my treatment because they said there was no way I was as injured as I said I was, even though I had multiple doctors saying otherwise. They based their decision solely on the damage or lack of damage to my SUV because a small car hit me. That was in April 2018. Here it is August 2021, and I've had 2 back surgeries, physical therapy 3 different times, chiropractic, now I'm doing water therapy, and I'm on high doses of pain pills and pain patches. I used to be a licensed insurance agent. You have a 6-year time limit to sue the other party's insurance for reoccurring medical expenses pertaining to the accident if you were ever able to find them. If you haven't ever located the person, I would suggest speaking to a lawyer about options pertaining to a higher payout regardless of whether emotional, mental or medical trauma is in question. Lawyer here, not giving legal advice here, only information. This isn't true everywhere. It depends on the jurisdiction of the person you're responding to. In my jurisdiction, the absolute time limit to sue an insurance company is 2 years after discovery, no matter the claim subject to intimidation. For motor vehicle accidents the absolute end date would be 2 years. It all depends on location. A cyst between my buttocks got infected and it hurt like hell for over 2 days. I can't even describe the pain, but because of it I couldn't sleep, or even sit, or lay down in a position that wouldn't make it hurt as much. It's called a pilonidal cyst, and they are incredibly painful. If it becomes chronic you can have it removed by a colorectal surgeon. I had one that used to flare like this every month with my menstrual cycle. I had it removed, and I'm so glad I did. Did you have to get the surgery where, after they remove it, they have to keep the wound open and pack it with gauze, so it heals from the bottom up? I had 6 feet of gauze in mine after the surgery and a nurse had to come to my house every day to change it for like weeks, until it was shallow enough for my poor mother to take over. That sucked. I was like 15. Endometriosis. Periods used to have me balled up in the fetal position on the bathroom floor on the edge of passing out waiting for the pain to get bad enough for me to throw up. The only reason I knew that wasn't normal was BC my mother kept pushing for me to go to the doctor. After my endometrial ablation and tubal ligation, the doctor told me she found endo on the outside of my uterus and on one of my ovaries. He was able to burn most of it away during the procedure. Nowadays I hardly bleed, and when I do the pain is so minimal I wonder at how and why I put up with such intense pain for so long. Breaking my jaw. Blacking out from a panic attack. What caused it? Unfamiliar situation with unfamiliar people. Was years ago and didn't really realize that's what it was until much later. Probably appendicitis. Cause? My appendix decided we were no longer friends. By the end it was nothing but pain and leaking. Had to cut that toxic relationship out of my life before it blew up. I had appendicitis a few weeks after delivering a baby and everyone was convinced I was pregnant again. I had a cesarean and was still bleeding. I definitely was not interested in sex. Stupid Mississippi doctors didn't even properly evaluate me. I had to go back to good old Louisiana. Surgery got scheduled the next day. There's a giant thread on this same subreddit right now about how Mississippi is the worst state to live in the US. This only further convinces me. I'm so sorry. I ended up having my kid 4 months early due to medical professionals not taking my complaints about pain seriously. Having a large hemorrhagic ovarian cyst rupture. Never felt 10/10ths pain like that in my life. Full dose of ordeal ordered in the hospital and I could still feel it. Agreed, it's bad. This ranks as my number 2 most painful experience. Unmedicated precipitous birth is my worst. Pain meds couldn't touch it. Couldn't stand up. Repeated vomiting. 800 milliliters of blood was sucked out of my abdomen during the surgery to fix the rupture. Had an ingrown toenail, and I went to the doctor to get that part of the nail that was cutting me removed, and the damn doctor somehow messed up the shot that was supposed to make that part go numb, and I felt everything the doctor did. The most painful part was when he cut my skin off using scissors. I felt it all, and I'm traumatized from it. Every now and then I have to return to see how the toenail is doing, and you have no idea the anxiety I go through. Similar thing happened to me. Was getting my first one taken out at around 15 and the doctor didn't wait for the anesthetic to take effect before he made the first cuts. When I told him I can feel that, he said no you can't, and promptly cut straight into the infected section. My father was in the waiting room and told me later that the profanity that he heard from me rivaled any worksite he had been on. Getting an IUD inserted inside me, and I've been through childbirth. Came here to said this. Told me to take 2 Advils before the appointment. Said it was going to be 1 cramp. The cramps just won't stop. Worst pain ever. Had to roll me out in a wheelchair. 2 weeks after, I asked my doctor to took it out. Seriously, we should be under sedation for that. If we were men we would be. Shingles. It's like someone taking a blowtorch to your skin for about a week. Hell yeah. Shingles for me was 6 weeks of crippling, stabbing, burning pain. Oh yeah, and it comes back every so often to remind you how bad it was. I swear I must have had the mildest version of some terrible things. My appendix burst. That was pretty unpleasant, but nothing like the horrible pain people describe for their own appendicitis. I had shingles on my back a year later. It just felt like mildly sensitive skin. Kind of like a mild sunburn. And it was gone within a week. And I'm not claiming to be tough at all here. I've acted like a wimp over a stubbed toe or having to be outside for a while in cold weather. I think I've just gotten very lucky. Tearing all the ligaments in my ankle and then working on it for 4 hours, dragging myself up and down stairs. Jesus. How though? I tore ligaments in my wrist years ago and it was the worst freaking pain I had ever felt. I'm a pretty pain tolerant guy, but holy crap, that was next level. Doctor said it's way more painful than a break or fracture.